early 15th century England. King Henry V sits on the throne, heretics burned by the dozens, and English artisans are hard at work on pieces like this cabinet and this dining set. But what was the context in which these pieces were produced? What was really happening at this time in history? So picture this. You're a French soldier in 1415, and on October 25th you find yourself standing on one end of a muddy field near the village of Agincourt. With you are 20,000 fellow soldiers, and on the other end of the field are only 6,000 sick and exhausted British troops. You, my friend, are in the unfortunate position of being a French soldier at the Battle of Agincourt, one of the defining events of the 100 Years' War and of the early 15th century as a whole. So what happened here? Well, to make a long story short, the English crown wanted more land, which is weird because monarchs usually never try and expand their territory. King Henry V noticed that there was a little bit of discord amongst the French nobility.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What's the procedure, everyone?
Stay calm!
And decided it was the perfect time to ask them to slip him some territory under the table. The French, of course, told him where he could stuff it, and boom! 100 Years' War is back on, baby! King Henry brings about 12,000 of his finest men on over to Normandy, better known for its other work, and lays siege to the city of Harfleur. After around 6 weeks, the city capitulated and Henry had won. But at what cost? You see, good old King Hank lost about half his men to the 3 Ds. Disease, desertion, and to not being alive anymore. The ones that were left were sick and tired, both literally and figuratively, and the absolute last thing they needed was to get cornered. So, of course, they got cornered by 20,000 French troops near the village of Agincourt. So here you are, a heavily armed French nobleman on facing down a small, raggedy, and exhausted band of English troops. Seems like an easy dub, right? Wrong. You see, the interesting thing about metal is that when you hammer it into armor, it doesn't magically stop being heavy. So now here you are, trudging down a field, stuck up to your knees in mud, and staring down the business end of a few thousand English longbows. This seems pretty bad, right? Well, don't worry, much like Christmas with your in-laws, it can always get worse. Your cavalry turns out to be useless against the English fortifications, and you're too heavily armed and in too tight of a space to swing a dead cat, much less a halberd. Meanwhile, on the other end, there's all these Englishmen who are pent up, angry, and in desperate need of an outlet. Hey, it's not like you've got anywhere else to be. So what are your odds of getting out of this one A-okay? Well, they aren't great, that's for sure. Of the 6,000 Englishmen who walked onto the field that day, only 400 or so perished. That's not a bad outcome for good old H5. But the French? Historians estimate roughly 6,000 casualties. That's the same amount of men the English started with, and most of whom were bigwig important noblemen. This battle was a decisive victory for the English army and helped lay the groundwork for Henry's eventual victory in the 100 Years' War as a whole. This is the kind of cultural context in which pieces like these were produced. And if you want to find out more about works like this and things made in other great moments in time, be sure to toss us a follow. And make sure you check out ellicazantiques.com for more.